back to Red Mug Music. I'm Brian, and today what we're going to talk about is the perfect album. Now, what the perfect album is to me is the perfect album pretty much has to fall under a certain guideline. It has to have it has to meet certain criteria to be able to be a certain album. Now, I don't listen to an album and think, okay, does it have this? Does it have this? No, I don't do that. I just know what that criteria is because it's naturally in my head. But I thought I would write it down so I can try to relay that to you. So the first thing for the perfect album, I think it needs to have the perfect opening song, and the opening song is going to set the tone for the rest of the album. It's going to, if you like it or not. Now, say you're the band Kiss. You don't want to start your album out with the song Beth. Doesn't make sense. It's not the right tone. That's not what you want to do. That's not how you want the consumer to see the album. You don't want to think that you're soft, slow, and have Peter Criss as the lead singer. That's just not it. You want to start the album out with Detroit Rock City. That's the way you do it because you're Kiss. So the opening number is going to be extremely important, and it will set the tone for the rest of the album. Number two, the album needs to have really good sequencing. So basically, the songs need to be in the correct order and with the correct transitions. Now, transition, it's not like a concept album or an album that's created in like a medley form, kind of like American Idiot by Green Day. I'm just talking about when a song stops and the next song starts, it's a good transition. It sounds good. It has a good flow. And I think that's very important, and that's one of the things that I really focus on when I reconstruct albums. I think a lot of times bands or whoever puts these together, I need to find out who that is, just don't put them in the right order. They just put all the big songs first and all the crap last, and it's like, well, that's fine if you want people to think it's a good album, but they're eventually going to get tired of the album and turn it off, and that's not a good album. Number three, it's going to have a good flow, a good feel to it, and a lot, again, that opening song is going to help that. So if you have a good opening song, good chance you could create a situation where everything else just feels good. But all the songs need to be, well, number four, all the songs need to be very listenable, and it's just got to be really good music. If it's not good music, then you're not going to listen to it. It could have a good opening song, and then the rest of the album is crap. It's not going to be a good album. So it needs to have an opening song that's really good, and it needs to have really good music. And last, the album doesn't need to be too long, or else you're going to lose interest. Or if the album is too short, if you bought the album, you may think you didn't get your money's worth. Or I don't know, it probably just feels like it's not really worth listening to it. And it's got to be probably less than 30 minutes for me to start questioning how short it is. I mean, even that EP by Alice in Chains, Jar of Flies, that's a really short album, but I still listen to it and I enjoy it, and I feel like I got my money's worth, so I'm good there. So basically, that's the criteria that I look at whenever I'm looking or listening to an album that I want the album to meet before I'm going to consider it a good album. Now, what I've done is I've got a few examples of what I consider really great albums. These are albums that I can't do anything with. They're in good order. They start great. The songs are great. The mood is great. It's perfect from beginning to end. And I just wanted to go over some of these albums real quick. Now, the first album is by Van Halen, and it's the album 1984, and it came out in 1984. Now, this album is 9 songs long, and it's 33 minutes long, and it's 9 songs long, and it's 33 minutes long. And it kind of seems like a short album, but it's really good. It's got songs like Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, I'll Wait, and then the B-sides, which basically the rest of the album are actually quite phenomenal too. So you have a album this short with such strong songs like this, you can't go wrong. Now the very first song is 1984, and basically it's just a synthesizer, and then it goes into the song Jump, and it's just a perfect beginning of the album. It's a great transition. If the album actually started with the song Jump, it may not have been as good, and I've played it to see what I think. Let's pretend like this is it, and I think it just kind of hits a little too abruptly. So the 1984 track is actually a perfect beginning of this album. So, but from beginning to end, this is a great album. If you haven't heard or listened to it from beginning to the end, you need to do it. I'm sure you've heard Jump. I'm sure you've heard Panama. I'm sure you've heard Hot for Teacher, but listen to the whole album. Now, it's actually kind of reminds me, you see a lot of people on YouTube that are watching the Jump or Panama video, and it's reaction videos, and there'll be somebody in their audience or a viewer that says, hey, try Jump by Van Halen, and it just blows my mind that up to that date they've never heard of the song. It's hard to believe, but that's what you're saying. But anyway, song number 2, I actually have the record. And I must tell you, all of these records that I have are the originals. And you can actually tell by the price tag on this one that this is the original. But this is Fleetwood Mac, Rumors from 1977. And here's the actual record. I don't know if you could see it or if it's fuzzy or not. This is actually it's a great album, and believe it or not, you can see it came from a place called Zips, and it had a low price of $5.99. I mean, this album came out in 1977, so that's pretty low, but this is a great album. I'm sure you've heard songs on this: Go Your Own Way, Dreams, Don't Stop, You Make Love and Fun, and one other good one, Gold Dust Woman, one of my favorites on there. This is a phenomenal record. If you've not heard it, you need to listen to it. Like I always say, from beginning to end, it is amazing. But it's got a great beginning, and it just keeps it up the whole album through. So I definitely recommend this one. All right, album number 3 is one of my favorite performers of all time. Actually, I've seen this person live twice, which I'm glad because he's not around anymore, and that's Prince. And his many albums, there's many albums that are really good, but Purple Rain, it came out in 1984 as well, is the soundtrack to the movie Purple Rain, and it's actually Prince's 6th album. I don't know if a lot of people know that. I think they think it was pretty much his 2nd or 3rd, but this was already his 6th album when he got to Purple Rain, and it's 9 songs long and 46 minutes, and it's got songs, as we all know, When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy, Purple Rain, Take Me With You, I Would Die For You, and everything else on there is just fantastic. This is a really good album. And to me, I think it's perfect. But I'm a huge Prince fan. Again, like I said, I've seen him twice. I've got everything by him. I've got most of his CDs. So I might be a little partial to Prince, but I don't think a lot of people can argue with me that it's a really good album. So Purple Rain, check it out. All right, the next one is from a band called Pearl Jam. Their album 10. It was their debut album that came out in 1991. And this album had songs like Jeremy, Even Flow, Alive, Oceans. This album was probably one of my favorite albums of all time, and it was an extremely important album to the grunge era. It really helped catapult grunge into the mainstream, so extremely important. And the funny thing about this album, well, it's actually 11 songs long and 53 minutes long, which almost goes against the criteria that I stated before, but it is a little long, but I'm okay with it because it's such a strong album. Have you ever watched a movie and you look at it beforehand, because you always look at the back and see, oh man, that's 2 hours long, and then you get like pretty much to the end of the movie and you wish there was more because you were so intrigued and so captivated and so sold into the storyline and the characters, and you just want more. That's 10 by Pearl Jam. It's one of those albums where you just can't really get enough of it, and so it's that kind of an album for me. And I remember the first time I ever heard it. I used to be a dishwasher back in Radford, Virginia, when I was in college, and I remember every time I would fill up a tub full of clean dishes, I would take it to the bar, or not to the bar, but I'd take it to the kitchen, and I would walk through the bar, and in the bar they would, it was downstairs, basically in the basement of the restaurant, and the bar would always be having music playing, and they'd be playing stuff like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction, stuff that I knew, but I kept hearing this particular music that I was not familiar with, and I kept going back and forth. Every time I'd go through, I'd hear it, and I was just really like, wow, what is that? And I finally asked, and it was 10 by Pearl Jam, and I was freaking in love. That was such a great album. I listened to that one to death, and I still do. So I think it's a really good album. You may know all the songs on there, but if you haven't heard the album all the way through, I suggest you listen to it because it's really good. You should check that out. Now, my last album, this band, I had picked an album out to be what I would consider a perfect album, and then I started kind of looking around through their catalog, and I found another one, and then another one, and then another one, and I'm like, oh, I want to pick an album here, but which one? So I actually called my buddy Fallon Ray. He's an old buddy back from high school in Virginia. And I had to talk to him about it, and he helped me out. But I ended up coming up with his suggestion of, I guess this is pretty much Led Zeppelin 4. Led Zeppelin 4 have songs like Black Dog, Rock and Roll, The Battle of Evermore, and the extremely popular Stairway to Heaven. Now, this song is 8 songs long, 40 minutes or 43 minutes, and this is a masterpiece, really. This is really good stuff. And I'll tell you what, people today that are streaming music and or buying CDs or however you're doing it, you're really missing out, because to be able to see this sort of artwork on these albums was really most of the fun of buying records, and it is a shame. I mean, I know they're back in style, but I don't really, who's really buying records? I don't know, but it's definitely a lost art form that I think should come back. And actually, here's something really cool. I'll put this down. It's got this is the original album too. You see that that's ripped, but it's got like the tracks there. And one of the cool things is they've listed the lyrics to Stairway to Heaven. So that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that was in there, and I've had this record for years. Well, anyway, again, this particular album is amazing. Listen to it. Listen to all the Led Zeppelin. They're pretty much just all good. But it was really hard, so I need to thank Fallon Ray for helping me finally decide on which album to go with. And whenever I have another video like this, I'm sure I can bring up another album. But again, Van Halen, 1984. Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, Prince, Purple Rain, Pearl Jam with the album 10, and Led Zeppelin 4. Those are the albums that I think that everybody needs to listen to. They get the red mug seal of approval, and you should go out and check it out and stream it or however you listen to your music. Another thing I wanted to do today is I wanted to talk about some albums that I have been listening to lately that have gotten my attention. Some new music releases. And if you go over to my Instagram page, Red Mug Music, I'm going to have some reviews over there, and some of these will be on there. And I'm going to try to put more reviews there. And if you'd like to have an album review, just leave a comment over there, or you can comment down below and let me know what you would like to have reviewed, and I'll be happy to do that. Actually, I would love to do that. The first one, the Strokes, I think just yesterday put out the new album, the new Abnormal. This song, this I've never really listened to the Strokes before, but I've heard of them, but I never really give them much attention. They weren't really part of my rotation. This album will be. In a day and age where there's a lot of really crappy music being released, I'm trying to go through and find the stuff that actually is worth listening, and that's why the slogan of this channel is for real music lovers. So the Strokes, the new Abnormal, is a really good listen. Check that one out. Pearl Jam, again, had their new album Gigaton. I've reviewed that on my Instagram page. I first heard it, I didn't like it. I listened to it again, I didn't like it. I listened to it again, I didn't like it. And then I listened to it again, and I just had to change my attitude that this is not the same Pearl Jam that I listened to in 1980 or 1991 or 92, 93, 94. This is a different Pearl Jam. And then I started to realize what they were doing and the chances they were taking, and they did great. It's actually now one of my favorite albums. I love listening to this, so it's part of my rotation right now. Also, there's a girl by the name of Katie Pruitt. She's got an album called Expectations. She's a Georgia native. I actually did a video on this and then decided not to air it. But she's a Georgia native that moved up to Nashville, and this album is a very heartfelt, personal experience from her. She's kind of like a singer-songwriter. It's got a lot of Nashville influences. Beautiful voice, beautiful harmony. Her ability to write a song is uncanny, but she created a very good album. Actually, in my review, my concern was whenever were to put out another album, is she going to have content or a place to write from? Because this particular album, she's battling her life choices and the things that she's doing throughout life, and she's having to deal with those life choices and how they affect her family and the people around her, and it's just acceptance, and it's very deep and emotional album, but just musically it's fantastic. So Katie Pruitt, Expectations, that's a good one to check out. I'm listening to that one. Also, Meghan Trainor. It may come as a shock, but she has a new album called Treat Myself. I typically don't listen to Meghan Trainor, but I like to listen to a lot of these new albums when they come out. And this one didn't just come out; it's been out for a couple months. But if you like that kind of music, it's more of a dancey type thing. This is actually a pretty strong album. I would definitely invite you to go check that one out. She did a really good job with this album. She's a great singer too. So Meghan Trainor, Treat Yourself. And I also want to throw in Madison Cunningham. Now this album, Who Are You Now, is from last year. This one's my favorite that I'm listening to. I've probably listened to this album more than any other. I think she's from California, maybe around the LA area, and she's very young, but her grasp on music alone is it's phenomenal. Like, she's young, she plays the guitar, it's very singer-songwriter sort of thing, but her ability to sing, her voice is beautiful, and it's amazing. Her ability to play guitar, it's very simple, and it captures your attention. I would definitely, like, if you were to listen to none of these except for one, make it Madison Cunningham. Who Are You Now is the album. But if you look her up on YouTube, you're going to find some hidden gems on there. She does some covers by the Beatles and Radiohead, and she does them really good. So There's just a lot of extra footage on there that she does. Check out her Instagram account as well. Just a lot of little, bonuses there all over the place if you're a Madison Cunningham fan. So check her out. Really good stuff. So again, if you want to go to my Instagram page, I'm going to have information out there like the playlist that I go over on the channel, any other content that we talk about over here, and album reviews, so and more. So just if you want to check out my Instagram account, it's Red Mug Music. Go on over there and check it out. Oh, and another thing, I've got this other record. It's not like an honorable mention or anything like that because it's not the best. But I've got this Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band record called Like a Rock. And this is in original too. You can see the price tag. Looks like it was from 1986. Yeah, 1986. That's when this price tag was put on there from a place called Peaches, I think. Well, anyway, it's got songs like American Storm, Like a Rock. Anyway, The Aftermath, I'm not sure what's famous on here. But it's never been opened. Very strange. It was like, where did this even come from? So I'm wondering how much it's worth. Anybody know? If you know how much it's worth or have any idea, like the original copy of Like a Rock by Bob Seger, comment below and let me know, or maybe let me know on how I can find out. Maybe a website or whatever I can go to. But anyway, I just thought that was really crazy. It even says includes American Storm. But I think Like a Rock was actually the big song off of this one. But anyway. Well, that's it, guys. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. Actually, it was another great day to talk about music. Don't forget to like my video, subscribe to my channel, tell all your friends about it, and we'll see where this thing goes. Well, I appreciate everybody hanging out with me today, and I will see you again next week.